You're watching Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. And now, here's two guys whose show has somehow made it to a fourth season, Evan and Joe.
I'm Joe Ticotsky down in New Haven, Connecticut.
I'm Evan McFarlane here in beautiful St. Andrews, New Brunswick, Canada, home of this year's 2022 PGA of Canada Assistant Golf Professional Championships.
Oof. And this is Mick and T Sports Report. And as Mark mentioned in the opening, we've somehow made it to a fourth season, as you can see by the fancy W4C background for our third anniversary, 4 years. Who'd have thunk?
I feel like they actually only put it on so that we watch it, and it's actually not playing on anyone else's televisions. Like, we're being hosed, I think.
It's a big plan. Well, this episode will serve as our third anniversary episode. So what better way to start off than to take a look at a clip from our very first episode, which originally aired back on October 2nd, 2019.
Now we're going to go on to something a little more lighthearted. First, when we started this show, we were forever on Facebook, me back home, Evan up here, tossing back and forth names for the show, and we didn't know whether to make it non-sports, sports. I liked poutine and pizza, but he didn't go for that. We were going to try Sorry Not Sorry, figured that would be a good Canadian-US thing, but we settled on this. And I wanted to do something that we call the Big Canada-US debate. So we figured what better way to start off the first debate than a little battle between Dunkin' Donuts and Tim Hortons.
Oh my God. The Tim Hortons versus Dunkin' Donuts. How about that?
There's so many other parts of that they could have shown, so I'm happy that's where it was. I mean, there's none of this. Yes.
We took out the awkward moments. Well, let's continue the festivities. We have some friends of ours who tape some congratulatory messages to us. And first up is the man who does the openings for each episode, my old college roommate, or as you guys say, university roommate. Yeah. Let's take a look.
Hi, this is Mark from Los Angeles, California. I'm that guy who does the show openings each episode. Now, I've never met Evan, but he seems like a great guy. As for Joe, well, I've known him for over 40 years. He's old. No. Congratulations to both Evan and Joe on their 3 years on the air on CHCO, and I wish them the best of luck in year 4.
He is one funny guy. He also wanted me to plug his podcast. It's called Cinemondo, Cinemondo. And while it's not nearly as good as our show, it is quite entertaining. Well, next up, we have two former guests. The first one is Meredith Lang and her kids from the great state of Minnesota, followed by Sarah Bonetto O'Brien, the owner of the Hand Pie Company in Prince Edward Island.
Hey, Evan and Joe, we want to congratulate you on your 3rd year with your show, Mick and T's Sports Report.
And we wish you the best of luck in year 4.
Keep up the good work.
Hi folks, this is Sarah Bonetto O'Brien from the Hand Pie Company, located in Uptown Albany, Prince Edward Island. Behind me are the bakers that are getting all ready for their day, but we're here today to congratulate Evan and Joe on their 3rd year on the air and wish them best of luck for an amazing year 4.
You know, Meredith and Sarah, those two are always so upbeat that it's frankly sickening at times. Not just joking. I absolutely love their joie de vivre, as the saying goes. But yeah, great guest there. And now to finish off the anniversary messages, let's check in with the mayor of St. Andrews, the Honorable Brad Henderson.
Hello, everybody. Brad Henderson, mayor of the town of St. Andrews. Want to congratulate Mick and T's Sports Report on 3 years. When Joe first started planning this, who would have thought he would have carried Evan that far? Most wouldn't have said 3 hours, let alone 3 years. So congratulations, guys. 3 is a special number to me. In fact, that's the number of strokes my golf team beat Evans to win the Andrew Bartlett Golf Tournament this year in beautiful St. Andrews by the Sea. Anyway, congratulations, guys. Wishing you the best and look forward to what's yet to come.
Well, Evan, I will let you comment on that one with Brad.
no shocker that he's trying to throw some digs in. I like to call Brad the scramble golfer who actually never golfs. He just scrambles. He's ridden my coattails harder than a crazy carpet going down a Canadian mountain.
Good man, good man. He has done a lot for the town. Well, thanks to all of our friends for their kind and entertaining messages. We appreciated them. And let me get rid of this background here for the 3rd anniversary and pop up it always takes me so long to this. There we go. The music spotlight. Evan, please grace us with your Canadian musical insight.
Absolutely. We're going to go with the Aurora, Alberta Advantage. It's a Canadian indie band formed in 2005 from Toronto, Ontario. Check them out. I never really heard of them before, and they popped up on Spotify one night when I was listening. They are cool. Really good stuff.
So they're from Toronto, but their name is Alberta?
Correct.
That is just crazy.
Awesome.
Well, let's take a listen to the Rural Alberta Advantage with Don't Haunt This Place.
Don't haunt this heart, don't haunt this place. I've been slow as the beats out of pace. West side apartment grows lonely and dark. West side apartment is 2 more empty hearts. I see your keys hanging in the same place. They haven't moved for a month or even a day. This is hard, it was fun, we should do it again. Give ourselves some time, 10 years in the day. I need you now, I need you then. I never wanna feel this again. Separate the room with the painful divides until there's nothing left to remind. Never wanna.
Coming up next, we interview the radio play-by-play announcer of your Toronto Raptors, who just happened to walk into our basketball camp in St. Andrews last month, unknown and unannounced. You're watching the 3rd anniversary celebration of Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV.
Happy anniversary.
Welcome back to Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. On our 3rd anniversary show, we're honored to welcome in the radio play-by-play voice of the NBA Toronto Raptors. So without further ado, let's say hello to Paul Jonesy Jones. How's it going?
I'm great, guys, and good to be on you and on with you. And you're going to have to explain to our viewers, our listeners, people that are taking this in, the circumstances under which we met. Just sports guys always gravitate towards one another, and I heard basketballs bouncing in a gym, and I thought it's music to my ears in the middle of the summer, because that's when people learn the game and pro athletes get better, when the lights go down. And I was out for a walk and heard basketballs, and it was like bees attracted to honey. I just couldn't resist a chance to walk into a gym and see basketball going on.
That's right. When we had our camp up in August in St. Andrews, all of a sudden I see this gentleman and his partner walking in, and I said, "Who is this? We don't have any guest speakers here." And he had told me he was in for the golf tournament, which we'll get to later on, and that's how I met him. We'll go from there. But all right, let's get going. You had a pretty amazing career path, from a master's degree in sports psychology to college basketball coach, teacher, principal, while you were announcing games. Give us a quick run through of that.
Geez, Joe, I don't know if there is anything quick I can tell you, but I got it from my late father. He was always an achiever, a doer. Don't sit around, or else you'll gather dust. And he pushed both my brother and I, Mark, who's, I guess he would be ranked as maybe the number 2 guy in terms of NBA broadcasting at ESPN and ABC. And I just returned from the Big House. He did a game last week, Michigan against Colorado State. And my dad always told us, push yourself. See, just never accept a ceiling or a limitation. So I left my undergrad as a conference all-star. I had a sports psychologist, Dr. Sue Wilson, helped me become a really good basketball player, played for Team Canada. And I was interested in that field, and I got into it. And back in, when I got my degree in 1984, my master's degree in sports psychology, it was like, I wanted to coach, and people looked at me like, in Canada, like, you want to do what? There is no such thing as coaching, and you want to make money for that, coaching basketball in this country. You need to get your head examined. And so I thought, okay, well, who do you coach? You coach kids. Where do you find kids? In a school. I had a teaching degree, a Bachelor of Education. So I got into a school and I started coaching kids. And then it led to coaching high schools. And I had coached university when I was as a graduate assistant, when I was getting my master's degree. And then I coached provincial teams. And I realized, though, I was bumping my head up against the ceiling there. So while I was teaching, I got a job at TSN. At the time, Canada's one and only all sports TV station. They were a sister station of ESPN. I started working games, watching games for $75 a night, watching games and writing highlights for the on-air talent. And one thing led to another. In '92, they needed a basketball guy. There weren't very many of us in Canada to cover the Olympics because the NBA was sending the Dream Team, their first NBA team. And they said, we need you to come to Spain to cover the Olympics. So I went to Spain, met some network people. In '94, the World Championships came to Toronto, World Basketball Championships, because of the civil war in Yugoslavia. I was supposed to be producing. One thing led to another with illnesses and people moving jobs, and I got stuck behind the mic. Not stuck. I mean, I was put behind the mic. They stuck me there, and ended up doing the games with Mike Inglis, who has called 3 NBA championships for the Miami Heat, is now retired. He was my first broadcast partner. And all this while I was doing school and teaching and trying to work my way up to make a difference with kids as a vice principal and then a principal. And I was doing both concurrently for a while. And then you get married and kids come along and Mrs. says, all right, something's got to give here. So I gave up the radio for a bit and just did TV, courtside, pre, post, halftime. And it limited my traveling, but I still had my hand in the business. And once my kids grew up, it was just a natural to go back to that and kind of leave education. Although education's like the mafia. Even when you're out of it, you think you're out of it, you're not. So I'm still teaching, doing stuff in schools and guest speaking and teaching kids and working with kids in an unofficial capacity. But my kids are all grown now. I've got 2 college graduates. One is a sports girl, a 5-time academic All-Canadian. She's working in public relations in the NBA, ironically for the Toronto Raptors. I've got one who's a volleyball coach at the college university level out in Canada West, turned down professional volleyball in Europe because he wanted to get into coaching. And then I've got a sophomore in college who's an academic All-Canadian and a 6'3" setter on his volleyball team at Western Ontario.
Impressive. Have you got a question?
Yeah, I guess before my question, just back to like that whole showing up at our gym, Paul, I've heard that story from about 10 kids, and honestly, like that's something that we'll never forget. So your love of the game certainly inspired them that day too. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
But in terms of that first Raptors season in the 95, 96, like there's so much excitement around the team coming in. Maybe just give us a snippet of kind of the excitement of the inaugural season versus the fact that they only went 21 and 61 that year.
It was pretty exciting, Evan. What we did was we really kind of captured the casual fan because it was a hockey town. They did stuff, Isaiah Thomas and I still laugh about it. They did stuff like they gave the thunder sticks out at the wrong end, and the fans were clapping the thunder sticks together when our guys were shooting the free throws. It's like, no. Those go at the other end to distract the Knicks and the, Shaq and the Magic and those people. But that's what we tried to do, entertain and educate. And, former Raptor head coach Butch Carter always said, your best consumer is an educated consumer. So we tried to educate, get them into the vibe of the NBA, provide the excitement for them. And you're right, Evan, only 21 and 61, but man, there were some memorable wins. A Sunday afternoon when they beat the 72 and 10 Chicago Bulls, 10 losses by the Bulls that year, one of them to the expansion Raptors. Damon Stoudemire with a triple-double on national TV in a win over Seattle, who went to the NBA Finals when they had Gary Payton and Sean Kemp and Nate McMillan and those guys. And here's an expansion team beating them on TNT with Damon Stoudemire getting a triple-double. So there was a lot of excitement, but it was just something new that we were trying to build here in Toronto. And I credit Isaiah Thomas and John Bitto for all that they've done in terms of kind of laying the groundwork here. A lot of their ideas 25, 30 years ago are coming to fruition now, and we're seeing them.
Okay. Now, it's amazing how people don't realize that you were bringing it to an entire country when you started out. Now, back to your sportscasting, did you have any radio or TV announcers, either growing up or when you started, that you patterned yourself after?
I don't know if I patterned myself after, but working at TSN in the days of the simulcast, I listened to a lot of people. One of my favorites was the late Jim Durham, who did the simulcast for the Bulls on Sports Channel in Chicago. Jim was terrific, painted great pictures for the radio people. Chick Hearn was another one, painted great pictures and was very entertaining. And on the TV side, a guy who I watched a lot was Brent Musburger. And the irony of it is that my brother Mark, when he went to ABC in his first year, he got to work with Brent and Dick Vermeil on college football, Hall of Famer Dick Vermeil, and Brent and the late Jim Valvano, Hall of Famer, on the basketball side. So, I paid attention to Brent a lot. He had a true love of the game and excitement. Mark would tell me they'd be, on the road somewhere for college football, and Brent would be up after the Saturday night game before they traveled Sunday. He'd be up at 10 in the morning, reading the papers and watching pregame shows. And, I guess what I learned from them is there's no faking a love of the game. And I think that comes through in your broadcast.
You are looking live, Brent Musburger.
And he told me about that line, Joe. You know where that came from? You are looking live?
No,
do you know?
I do not.
He used to say it because of Brent's now involved with the VIS, Vegas Sports and Information Network, the betting network. And he said because of the weather conditions playing such a big factor, when they came on, if it was raining or if it was good weather or whatever, he would tell them, and that was for the bettors, you are looking live. Like this, it's raining here in Chicago. It's sunny here in LA. You are looking live. So that was where the advent and the genesis of that line came from.
I go back to the days of Brent and Jimmy the Greek and Phyllis George on NFL.
Me
There was
too.
only
Yeah.
one pregame show. Evan knows who my favorite announcer is. Marv Albert, being a New York guy. Do you prefer play-by-play or color commentary?
I'm good with both of them. The color side lets my coaching and my my playing side come out, Joe. But there's part of me that loves painting the picture too, because I said I was so influenced by a guy like Jim Durham, Chick Hearn, George Blaha in Detroit. There were so many great ones that I like to listen to. And my first broadcast partner, Mike Inglis in Miami, was really good too. And I got to learn a lot from him.
Okay. Evan, you have one more?
Yeah, but we're looking back at when the Raptors championship in Game 6 of the finals, they had that chance to clinch on the road. When, as an announcer, do you start wondering or thinking about what you're going to say when the buzzer goes off?
It's funny, Evan. That's a great question because it had been such a long climb, and it's a moment that's going to live in eternity, in infinitum because of the call. And my brother Mark always says, and my dad too was a language major, and he was a broadcaster. People don't know he turned down the #1 radio broadcasting news job in Jamaica so Mark and I could remain in Canada to be educated. And he always said, use the language properly and never premeditate what you're going to say. Let the words find you in the moment. So I kind of knew what I wanted to say around in Game 5. In Game 6, I was on the color side, but in Game 5, I kind of knew what I wanted to say, tying in education. I was going to say something kind of along the lines that the little kid who grew up as 25 years later has walked across the stage and won a championship, and it's time to celebrate. Something along those lines. I wanted something like that, depending on, what was happening on the court. But I'd thought about it, and I never got the chance in Game 5. And on Game 6, I was on the color side. But I was thrilled to be there and do the post-game interviews, and it was a wild scene, Evan. I stood on the floor at Oracle Arena, and I thought, it's surreal. Because we started off, you mentioned that 21-61 year. We were in the NBA, but we weren't in the NBA. Right. We weren't in their league. Ewing and the Knicks, and Jordan and the Bulls, and Shaq and the Magic, and Reggie and the Pacers. They just used to kick the snot out of us. And, you look back, there's some 30, 40, 45-point losses in that expansion year. And here they are 25 years later, hoisting the championship. And some teams have been in the league much longer than them, have never done it. Minnesota, Sacramento. It had been a long time since some of the storied teams had won a championship. So it was a real treat to be there.
You've certainly been lucky to be along for the ride and have been a big part of it. Jonesy is going to hang around and has agreed to give us a few more minutes for part 2 of this interview, which will be on our October episode. So we'll be back after a short break, and you're watching the 3rd anniversary episode of Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV in St. Andrews.
Welcome back to the 3rd anniversary special of Mick and T Sports Report here on CHCO-TV. The Small Town Spotlight segment will be sitting out this episode as I'm waiting for some of my world famous t-shirts to arrive in the mail. But in its place, we have part of an interview that originally aired on the station's Southwest Magazine show last month, and CHCO's MVP, Vicky Hogarth, sat down and interviewed 2 of our basketball camp coaches and good friends, Brandon Sherrod and Melissa Teal. So let's take a look.
Why is it important to you to bring what you've learned to a place like rural New Brunswick, where we might not be exposed to your level of playing and teaching, but you're still bringing this here for a week?
Yeah, I think exposure is extremely important in terms of just being educated and having a different perspective. I think we can both attest to the fact that basketball has given us a great deal of perspective, as you were saying, how to deal with people, how to be adaptable, how to build community in a relatively quick amount of time, not really having to vet and check people all the time, being pretty open. And being here in St. Andrews has been a real godsend for us too, because we do get a chance to kind of rewind, recalibrate, and also experience the community, which is totally different than Connecticut, I'd say. One, obviously, in scale, just the amount of people and the size of the city itself, but the differences between working with Canadian kids and working with American kids. And I think that
it's very different.
I think what we found is that the Canadian kids are a little bit more easygoing. It's an easier camp setting than back in the States. No offense to all the American kids that may be watching this. But yeah, so I think that's really important. And also, if we can instill and inspire and impact the next generation and they have access to us, that's something that I know for myself I didn't have growing up. So just being able to be a light and a leader in that way is really cool.
And yet we are on teams our whole life in so many ways,
for
whether
sure.
at work, sometimes in circles of friends and your family. You touched on this earlier, Melissa, but what does basketball or sports in general that are team oriented teach you and set you up for in life that if you're not involved with them, you might not have so early ingrained in you?
I'm going to steal Brandon's answer from before, and it's community. So I think Joe mentioned a little bit about I actually had a kidney transplant about a year ago, and it was one of, so the average person waits 8 years to receive an organ, which is also my plug that if you can donate, please donate. But when I was on dialysis and I had to step away from coaching at the college level for a while, I was only able to get through all those situations because of the community that I had built. And a lot of that community was my basketball family. Like even Brandon would call me throughout the year just to check on me, which was great. So it was, and again, like we were talking about before, when we say that it's so much bigger than basketball. When you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself, and you learn to push through certain things and overcome certain things. And it's been a crazy year, but it's also been really stable because of the community that I've been able to build through basketball, which has been awesome. So.
Wow, I mean, we knew that Vicky is a star in front of the camera, but who would have thought that Brandon and Melissa are that good at interviews? Man, they got to do some more. That's awesome.
Smooth operators, as the saying goes. Great people who certainly have made a big difference in the lives of others. Okay, it's time for the shout out, which I will do this time. And we're going to give a shout out to a viewer of ours that watches the show on YouTube. And he left us just the nicest comment about our last episode. So I will read that. It says, another excellent broadcast. You guys and your crew just keep getting better. Great program to watch on a weekend morning. Not only does it inform and entertain, it does wonders to lighten the atmosphere and start my day off with lots of smiles. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very well done. And that was a true comment. It's so there's a shout out to the man who goes by the name Simple Forging. Now he actually has a YouTube channel where he does some of his stuff there. And we thank him very much for the kind words. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's really, really nice of you.
It is. All right. Well, that's it for the start of our 4th season of Mick and T's Sports Report. I'm Joe here in New Haven.
I'm Evan, still here in St. Andrews.
And thanks to editor Florence Mitchell and CHCO-TV station manager Patrick Sanchez-Watt. Sanchez-Watt is an English soccer player. Patrick and Florence do a great job of producing and editing a show that's binge watched nearly as much as The Bear is on Hulu.
Do you even know what that is?
I do not, sir. I have no idea, but I Googled popular binging shows and up came The Bear on Hulu.
Okay.
And also I'd like to thank Patrick for keeping me on the show despite my gray hair. Shout out Lisa LaFlamme. That's an inside Canadian joke there. At any rate, now that we've once again come to the end of this show, we'll leave you with peace, love, and happy anniversary to us. Got a mug there, Evan?
I always have a mug. Are you kidding me?
There we go.
Cheers.
Mick and T's Sports Report on CHCO-TV. We'll see you next time.